Hello, I'm Dr. Brandt Gibson, and I'm excited to be here to talk about one of my passions, that is peripheral neuropathy. And I want to help you understand basically what is peripheral neuropathy. So to start out with, let's go to the screen here and we'll actually talk about what makes up the peripheral nervous system. So first things first, the nervous system has two distinct parts. It has the central nervous system here in orange, which is the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, which is everything else. All the stuff in blue, all this area here is the peripheral nervous system. It's all the other nerves. Anything that's not in the brain or spinal cord is the peripheral nervous system. So these peripheral nerves. And the peripheral nervous system is then made up of two parts as well. It's made up of the somatic nervous system, or the voluntary nervous system, and the autonomic nervous system, or the involuntary nervous system. And so because of that, when you have a peripheral neuropathy, you're going to have problems with either the somatic nervous system and or the autonomic nervous system. So somatic nervous system, that includes the sensory nerves and the motor nerves. And the autonomic nervous system, of course, includes the autonomic nerves. So what's going to be included in there? With the sensory nerves, you're going to have large fiber nerves, either the large nerves that are coming off the spine down to other areas of the body, and then the small nerves, which are the nerves that just localize to the local areas. And then the motor nerves, of course, the nerves that go to the muscles that cause the muscles to do what they're supposed to do, to indicate, okay, you need to do this, you need to contract, you need to do whatever. So these motor nerves can also be malfunctioning, which can cause a motor neuropathy. So you can get a large fiber sensory neuropathy, a small fiber sensory neuropathy, a motor neuropathy, or an autonomic neuropathy. What would autonomic neuropathy look like? Autonomic neuropathy would be a malfunction of any of the automatic systems of the body. So your heart rate's not going to work like it's supposed to. Maybe your intestines aren't emptying like they're supposed to. Or you may get spasms in the intestine, abdominal type pain that can't be explained any other way. You could have problems with the stomach emptying. You could have abnormal sweating or oils released to the skin, which cause significant dryness. You can say you get up and you get lightheaded because the body's not managing the blood pressure like it's supposed to, and so you get lightheaded and actually could almost even pass out because of this. So all of these could be autonomic nervous system problems or autonomic neuropathy. With peripheral neuropathy, you can have any number of those. You can have a small fiber sensory neuropathy, a large fiber sensory neuropathy, a motor neuropathy, or an autonomic neuropathy, or all of the above. So you can have all of them. And in any of that case, you basically can have a pretty significant problem. So what happens in peripheral neuropathy? The one big misconception is that people think that with autonomic neuropathy that the nerves have died. That's not true. The nerves are not dead. In most cases, the nerves are just malfunctioning. They're not working like they're supposed to. So with this, you've got a malfunction of some aspect of the nerves. So if we look at a nerve here and we look at it really, really closely, you could actually see that there's multiple areas that make up the nerve here. You've got the dendrites, which are the arms coming in. They receive a signal and they go into the nerve, into the neuron, the nerve cell body. And you get the nerve cell body here that has multiple different organelles inside, multiple different things that are doing different parts of the function of that cell. That includes the nucleus, where you have the DNA and RNA, and those are functioning, and that can be damaged in a peripheral neuropathy. You can get the smooth endoplasmic reticulum or the rough endoplasmic reticulum. You can get the ribosomes, you can get the lysosomes, you can get the Golgi apparatus. All of these have different functions in the cell that allow the cell to function like it's supposed to. If any one of these are damaged, it can actually cause the cell, the neuron, to not function like it's supposed to. The most common injury happens actually to the mitochondria itself. The mitochondria is the power plant of the cell. Allows the cell to function like it's supposed to. And when the mitochondria start to get damaged or start to be injured in any way, the cell doesn't have the energy it needs to function appropriately. So you could get a weak signal, a slow signal, or even lack of a signal because the mitochondria aren't functioning at a high enough level to allow the cell to function. So any of those could be damaged. You could also damage the cell membrane here. Maybe you got an injury to the cell and you're actually getting fluid seeping out or fluid seeping into the cell that are interfering with the way that it functions. The next part is the axon, which is the long arm that actually sends signals out. And you've got large fiber axons, small fiber axons. In some of these larger fiber type axons, you're going to have also a lining. Just like a wire gets lined to actually improve the conduction velocity, a nerve can also get a lining on it for that same purpose. And in this, you've got the myelin sheath, which is created by Schwann cells. If the Schwann cells get injured or the myelin sheath gets injured, you're going to interfere with the functioning of these larger nerves. And so you're going to get a slower signal or a weaker signal. As opposed to the way that signals will run in a wire, where they run down the wire and the lining helps speed that up. Because of this lining, you're going to actually get jumps. And so instead of taking the time to do this, it jumps, and it moves significantly faster than it would otherwise. And so because of that, you need this myelin sheath to be able to create that speed, to be able to create that signal complex. So if there's a problem with the myelin sheath, you'll also get a peripheral neuropathy or a damage to that nerve cells there. So the other area that you can get a damage is right at the synapse, where the axon comes down and ends, and then you get a dendrite going to the next cell, the next neuron, and it sends a signal, neurotransmitters here. You can get injury to the neurotransmitters. A lot of the medications that are used for peripheral neuropathy are designed to interfere at this level to keep the cells from communicating correctly, and then it reduces nerve pain some. Because of that, it actually will cause symptoms everywhere because you're interfering with that. So a peripheral neuropathy is an injury to the nerve in such a way, or damage to the nerve in such a way, that one part of that neuron or that neuron complex is not working like it's supposed to, so it's malfunctioning. And because of that, you can actually get loss of a signal, you can get a weak signal, you get a slow signal, or you can get an erroneous signal. Erroneous signal would be that it's sending a signal, but the body doesn't know how to interpret it correctly. The brain say, okay, that's not correct. I don't know what it is. I'm going to interpret it as pain, or I'm going to interpret it as numbness, and it sends it back down, and we're not able to get that directly the way we want to do it. So what does it take to actually help? If you have peripheral neuropathy, you say, okay, I have peripheral neuropathy, how do I treat it? There are 4 steps. And these 4 steps I'm going to go through really, really fast, because in this video I don't have time to go into any greater depth. But the whole goal, of course, here is to increase or improve the nerve health. If you improve the nerve health, then you won't have the symptoms of peripheral neuropathy. You won't have the problems that come with peripheral neuropathy. So the first thing here is you need to understand peripheral neuropathy. So you need to understand those basics. And I went really fast with those basics, but there are additional information that you can get if you go into this at a greater depth. And you can say, okay, as I understand the peripheral neuropathy, now I know what peripheral neuropathy is. How is my peripheral neuropathy different than everybody else's? And that's the first step. The second step is you're going to manage the symptoms of peripheral neuropathy. So you say, okay, I now know what's going on with peripheral neuropathy. Now, how do I manage my symptoms so I can function more normally? And through simple steps of figuring out exactly what you want to do to manage those symptoms, you can get complete control of the symptoms so they don't interfere with your life. A lot of times with the symptoms of peripheral neuropathy, you're going to get either a discomfort, a distraction, or even a disability that completely interferes with your life. So the next step is control. So once you get to, so you're managing the peripheral neuropathy, you say, okay, I'm now managing the symptoms. They're not as bad. Now I'm going to control the nerve damage. I'm going to stop the nerve damage by controlling these causes. So the part of this is actually getting the diagnosis, saying, okay, what's causing my nerve damage? And then how do I treat these causes? What do I need to do to eliminate that cause, or to reverse that cause? Or maybe you're saying, okay, I need to do something that will actually repair the cause or treat the cause. So through these 4 steps, you can actually say, okay, I'm going to find the cause, and then I'm going to either remove it, repair it, I'm going to reverse it, or I'm going to treat it. And so through all of that, you can actually say, okay, I can figure out exactly what's going on with my nerves, what's causing my peripheral neuropathy, and I can actually keep it from getting worse over time. And then the last step, of course, is the most important. You say, okay, now that I've got all these pieces in place, what do I do so I can live my extraordinary life even with peripheral neuropathy? I invite you to take these 4 steps with your peripheral neuropathy. If you have peripheral neuropathy and you're saying, okay, what do I do? I invite you to join me. Every Thursday, I actually do a live webinar where I can actually answer your questions. I can walk you through the process of figuring out how to manage your peripheral neuropathy without medications and without expensive doctor visits. If you'd like additional information on peripheral neuropathy, join me at theneuropathywebinar.com, and you can sign up for that weekly webinar and you can get additional information. And the truth is, this is invaluable in helping you live that extraordinary life that you were born to live. I'm Dr. Brandt Gibson, and this is your Podiatry Tips Day 338. Join me, and I promise we can actually help you find a way to manage your peripheral neuropathy. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.